Short seat. Short seat.
See who comes last gets to.
Yeah.
All right, we are go for launch.
Good evening and welcome to the October 15th, 2025 meeting of the Henrietta Town Board. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Page,
Here.
Councilmember Belanca,
Here.
Councilmember Barley,
Here.
Councilmember Stafford.
Here.
Supervisor Schultz.
Here. We'll begin the meeting with a solemn prayer followed by the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes from the preceding meetings?
Supervisor Schultz, I make a motion that we approve the minutes from September 24th, 2025 regular meeting.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca.
Aye.
Councilmember Barley,
Aye.
Councilmember Stafford.
Excuse me, abstain because I was missed part of it through virtual.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Mr. Supervisor and fellow board members, I'd like to make a motion to approve the October 2nd, 2025 special town board meeting.
Seconded.
Joe's got it.
Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Page.
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca.
Aye.
Councilmember Barley,
Aye.
Councilmember Stafford.
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Mr. Supervisor and fellow board members, I have resolution number 18-336, 2025. Whereas the Riverton Community Association is endeavoring to promote the sport of pickleball throughout the Riverton neighborhood and the town of Henrietta. And whereas USA Pickleball offers to provide free equipment at no charge to eligible organizations through the USA Pickleball Serves Grow the Game grant. And whereas the Riverton Community Association has completed and submitted the application requesting 48 wooden paddles, 100 pickleballs, and 2 portable nets. And whereas the Riverton Community Association is requesting that the town accept this award as an eligible organization. And whereas 50% of the equipment will remain with the town of Henrietta in direct support of their recreational activities, and 50% of the equipment shall be donated to Riverton Community Association in support of recreational activities in the town's planned unit development of Riverton. Therefore, be it resolved that the Henrietta Town Board acknowledges this donation and thanks the Riverton Community Association and USA Pickleball for their generosity.
Second.
Obviously, it's great that the Riverton Community Association is going after this project and was able to include the town in on the donation so that our facilities also receive some of the donations. So thanks to all those who worked on this. Any other?
Yeah, thanks.
Hearing and seeing no further comments, please call the roll.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca.
Aye.
Councilmember Barley,
Aye.
Councilmember Stafford.
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Mr. Supervisor and fellow board members, I have resolution number 18-337, 2025. Whereas the Henrietta Public Library Friends and Foundation Incorporated has donated $200 to the Henrietta Public Library for a management retreat event. And whereas a check in the amount of $200 was received by the library director, therefore be it resolved that the Henrietta Town Board acknowledges this donation and thanks the Henrietta Public Library Friends and Foundation Incorporated for their generosity.
Second.
Very much appreciated. If someone else wants to make the primary comments. Perhaps who's our liaison to the library? Is that Joe?
It is, yeah. I know that anytime that the library has needed funds, the Friends and Foundation have been incredibly generous with it. They're a tremendous asset to the operation of the library.
What about the 9 million we needed to build it? Little out of reach.
That's a lot of book donations.
That's right. Any other comments? Hearing and seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca.
Aye.
Councilmember Barley,
Aye.
Councilmember Stafford.
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz and fellow board members, I have resolution 18-338, 2025. Whereas the Henrietta Public Library Friends and Foundation, Inc. has donated $669.95 to the Henrietta Public Library for a little free library and voice amplifiers. And whereas a check in the amount of $669.95 was received by the library director, therefore be resolved that the Henrietta Town Board acknowledges this donation and thanks the Henrietta Public Library Friends and Foundation, Inc. for the generosity.
Second. Discussion?
I would assume that that money comes from the sale of the used books.
They have that's where a lot of that comes from. They have a couple other fundraisers, I believe, but
And they have such an active group of volunteers that are really dedicated to that. We've donated quite a few books to that, and they're really, really well run, that foundation.
It is, and my wife is a frequent patron of the sales over there, and would say that by comparison to a lot of the libraries in the local area, the selection and the price are significantly better.
yeah, I will say I believe my wife has helped towards some of this donation as well.
And you've had some good women in your life.
Right. Any further comments? Hearing and seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca.
Aye.
Councilmember Barley,
Aye.
Councilmember Stafford,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye. Fellow board members, I have resolution 18-339, 2025. Whereas Dr. and Mrs. Tour have donated $1,000 to the Henrietta Senior Center, whereas a check in the amount of $1,000 was received by the Henrietta Senior Center. Therefore, be it resolved that the Henrietta Town Board acknowledges this donation and thanks Dr. and Mrs. Tour for their generosity.
Second.
So we've recently had a number of folks from the county and other areas come to our senior center for various reasons, and they say the thing that we always say, right? I always feel, well, when we say it, it feels a little biased, but when it's somebody who's been to most of the senior centers in the area, they say ours is the best, bar none. Our staff does a really good job. We as a town board do a good job supporting them, and you know, when you go there and meet with the seniors, you can see how excited they are for the center, how appreciative they are of the staff, and obviously the fact that people are gifting money to the senior center to help support its operations speaks to that. So, you know, very much want to thank Dr. and Mrs. Tour, as well as I'd like to thank the senior center staff for all that they do for our residents.
Yeah, I was second that motion that the center is really great. And the seniors are always so happy in there. They have great activities and events for them to go to. And there's a lot of good card players in there too. I've learned a few games.
And bingo players we had. I was last there, Adam Bello, the
Oh, yeah.
county executive, was calling out bingo. I believe he prefers it to the council meetings. All right, hearing no further comments, please call the roll.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca.
Aye.
Councilmember Barley,
Aye.
Councilmember Stafford,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye. So next up, we have a public hearing for a proposed local law to amend the zoning code of the town of Henrietta to authorize the creation of and to promulgate regulations for historic districts within the town. So we are looking to create a historic district for the West Henrietta hamlet, that basically around the intersection of Erie Station Road and West Henrietta Road. But before we can do that, we have to have the town code that supports that creation. So this code defines how to, basically, what does it mean to be in a historic district? Essentially comes under Article 10, which covers our historic properties. There was some talk about historic districts in there before, but never really got into the full creation of a district, what that defines, and then the process by which you go into it. One of the things that calls for is the creation of a map, the listing of the properties, detailing which parcels are contributing and non-contributing, and then it requires public hearings and where we send that map and associated documentation about the district out to all the residents who would be in the proposed district. So defines that process. And I mentioned that also because we will be starting the process for the West Henrietta district. This has been on the table for a while. It kept getting pushed to the side as we've been pursuing other stuff. But the reason we're moving on it now is there's potentially some grant funding out in December. In the last go round for funding this is for the preservation of historic properties. There's a lot of there were a number of grants out there, but they all had these, like, they had to be inside of a qualified census tract, which this is not. They had to be in a distressed environmental area, which this is not. They had to be in a village, on a village or city main street, which this is not. Now, we pushed back on that, and basically they said for the next go around, they will count a historic district on a main road as a village or like a main street in a village or a city. So our goal is to have this in place by the time the next round of funding goes out, assuming that hopefully it will go out. In this current environment, who knows? Right. But if it goes out, we want these folks to be eligible for it because we have a number of properties that could use some assistance in restoring and or maintaining the historic properties. Chief among those, Cartwright's Inn, but also Ken's Pizza Corner. If you go there, you'll see that some of the lime is starting to leach out. They'd like to correct that, but that's not inexpensive. They're one of our only homes on the National Historic Registry, has a lot of exterior siding work that needs to be done. And the fire hall was also interested as well. So those were just some that had reached out last time, but again, unfortunately, we didn't qualify for any of the existing grants. So we're not going to close the public hearing because we've still got, it's one of those, the county had 30 days to respond because of the change in zoning. We're only at day 21. So we won't actually vote on this till the next meeting, but is there anyone online? Oh, Gary, I don't, so we have Gary Goodrich, who is the chair of our Historic Site Committee. I don't know if you want to talk here, Gary, or if you want to wait till we put forth the resolution for the West Henrietta District. Okay. He said both, actually. That's fine.
So, yes, I plan on speaking at the next one when we're doing the actual vote, but I do want to remind people that if our history is not preserved today, it'll be lost tomorrow. It's a one-way street. If a building is gone, it's gone. And right now, we're at a point where with the West Hamlet, we can preserve part of Henrietta that started back in 1820. There's buildings there that have been there since 1820, right up through newer buildings done in the 1850s, and we've had a few newer than that. So, doing this town code to create the ability to have districts and then moving forward so that we can create a district is a very good thing. And yes, we've been working on this for a while.
And I'd like to thank you for all the effort you've put in, as well as others on the committee, including our town historian. I know there's been a lot of work that's gone into this. And it'll be, I'm sure you'll be happy to see it come to fruition.
Well, it'll still be an ongoing process. But yes, we'll
Absolutely.
be happy to get through this part of it.
Yep.
So
All
that
right.
we can move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak?
I'd like to thank Gary, as our chair of, that committee also for being so, diligent in seeing this through. I know it's a lot of work, and Steve, thank you, and thanks Dan, for doing his work on this too. History is very important, and, I hope this extends to our residents who might be eligible for these grants, because their properties are kind of, unique in that they can't do certain things and still be historic, so it will really help them too.
Well, and when you try to preserve that, use historically consistent materials, and or try to restore with the existing materials, that's more expensive than switching to vinyl siding, for instance. And so being able to get them that assistance in doing that work, I think is important. And again, since they're doing their part to preserve our history, I think the town should do its part to help them preserve that history.
Yes.
All right, so I'm going to just close this session of the public hearing, but we will keep the public hearing open through the next meeting. Next up, we have a presentation for the 2026 tentative budget. Becky, if you could bring up the presentation. I was just looking, I'm like, I didn't check to make sure we updated the, although it matches last year. A lot of times when you copy and paste from the previous year, we forget to update the town board members.
Yeah.
But fortunately, it's the same as last year. All right, go forward. So basically, just looking at the year in review, costs continue to rise. Fortunately, our town personnel, they've worked hard to keep costs on budget. But I will say it's been a challenge, and we've seen that ourselves with when, these construction numbers, costs have come in way above where we had hoped they would be. Because of that, we're looking at, to keep those on budget, we're looking at scaling some of those projects back. They may not be to the scale that we'd originally hoped, but in most of the cases, they will still be very nice projects, even scaled back. Sales tax revenues are trending ahead of the projected levels, and the cannabis tax revenues remain strong. Within the town, we've had, multiple large projects and purchases that have begun in 2025. They'll continue into 2026. Many of those funds have been encumbered. and are reflected in the 2025 results. So in other words, if the monies have been encumbered, even though they've not been spent, it's deducted essentially from the balances going forward. Next. So the total budget that we put together is 28,659,509. So that is a decrease from the previous year, and the large part of that is because in 2025 we had some larger, excuse me, in 2024 2025 we had larger projects finishing up than we did in 2024 6. I get my years straight one of these days, including the LED lighting, the town court, the spray park construction, numerous improvements for park and rec. So it's largely the capital costs that are lower. So some of the stuff that are encumbered in 2025 include some of the work started on the senior center addition, the amphitheater or band shell project, the municipal dog shelter, and the Riverton Oaks Clubhouse. Next. Eye candy that I can't read right now, but from here, but this is the actual budget itself, and breaks out how it breaks down by funds, how much is from other revenues, how much we are committing from the fund balances, and then how much will be levied in taxes. So go forward, because we go into a lot of these lines in more detail. So this just shows the budget as its various components. Again, as you can see, the actual construction done in 2025 was down from previous years with capital work. That's the green bar on top. And so that's plays the largest reason as to why this one is a bit smaller than previous years. Next. And I should mention that the newest one was to the left. Real growth versus total growth. So real growth in the town is basically due to new constructions or enlargements or improvements to existing properties, whereas the total growth includes that plus all the increases due to changes in market value, also known as reassessment. The latter greatly outweigh the former. So real growth is just under 2%, which is about where we've hit almost every year for the past 8 years. It's right around 2%, a little plus or minus. Total growth is over 31%, and that's just, if you remember, last year we did not do a reassessment. We needed to get all the ducks. We knew that we were going to have to do a full townwide reassessment, needed to get all the ducks in a row in order to do that. So that's essentially a 2 years worth of increase at 31%. Next. This is what our part of our crazy real estate market. What this chart is showing is the monthly number of available houses on the market. That you can see there's a seasonal aspect to it, hence the squiggle, but the trend is pretty obvious. From 2017 down to the current times, I think it was 2,400. I can't quite read the scale, but I think if I remember, it was 2,400 in 2017. We're now averaging around 400. So that is a significant decline in available housing. Next. And as you can see, the median price reflects that. So this actually, they had this data went further back. This is all from the St. Louis Federal Reserve Economic Data site. So home prices were pretty steady for a long time. That 1995 year is is that one index, they don't actually have because they want to use this to be able to compare different markets without having to look at the actual price. They basically set whatever the 1995 median price was in that market as the 100%. And so houses have now tripled in value since that time. Although if you look, it went from 1995 to 2017 or 18 to just double in value. It's doubled in value, or I think that was about 150% increase. It's doubled in value since then. So triple in value since 1995, but double in value since 2017. That's a significant rising market. There's been a little bit of a slowdown, but not much, not in rising prices. You're seeing fewer houses change hands, and that the belief is that's largely to do with the higher mortgage rates. But when people need homes, they're still essentially overpaying them. Next. So as that growth in the market occurs, which is the top graph, that's the total assessed value of all the properties in town. Again, you see that same curve, that same upward curve that you saw on the other charts. The middle is our tax levy. You can see basically 5 of the 8 years we kept it flat, the same as the previous year. There was the very first budget in 2018, there was the increase due to the
pizza?
The pizza, the large pizza, if you remember, it was for the library. And at that meeting, they said the increase was going to be equal to a large pizza. And then I believe Adrian, our library director, chimed in and said, large pizza and double order of wings. But there was a significant increase due to the ballot referendum that year. For the next 4 years, we kept it flat, and then we had another referendum. This one was for the $200,000 for the spray park and subsequent park and rec improvements. So this year it's going towards the band shell. And then there was a slight increase last year, but this year we're holding it flat. As a result of that, and the scale, by the way, is expanded in that center. If you were to put that on a similar dollar scale as the others, it would be pretty close to a straight line. Because of that, you're seeing a significant drop in the tax rate to the point where we're going to be at about 75 cents per thousand. I will note that last year's numbers, they're in a different color for the total assessed value and the tax rate. And the reason is those aren't the actual numbers. As I mentioned, we did not do a reassessment last year. So it's the only year on this chart where we weren't at 100% property values. And so it ends up looking strange. What those numbers represent, it's the total assessed value divided by the equalization rate for the top chart, and it's the same thing. It's the rate divided by the equalization rate at the bottom. So it brings them more in line as if we had done the assessment. It gives you a better idea for the growth. Otherwise, those two would have been pretty much straight across from the previous year. And it ended up looking strange, and it was easier to show it with the equalization rate factored in. Next slide. So there's a lot of negative effects from this crazy market. Obviously, one that we feel is all the people super upset about their rising assessment rates. But it gets worse than that. So one of the things that you've seen is there's a higher growth in residential real estate value than in commercial real estate values. And right now, just to be clear, I'm speaking in generalities, not specific properties, but overall, we're seeing a faster rate of growth in the residential. And what that means is, even though we're not collecting any new taxes, it's shifting that tax burden of who we collect from. Because again, assessments do not determine how much we collect in taxes, the budget does. But what assessments do determine is who pays what portion of that taxes. If your property goes up at a faster rate than the growth in the total assessed value, it means your piece of the pie gets a little bit bigger, but everybody else's, well, not everybody else's, but somebody else's at least has to get smaller. Where that's happening is you're seeing the the residential properties go up faster than the commercial. So some of that tax burden that used to be being paid by the commercial properties is now being paid by residential properties. And then within the residential properties, in general, you're seeing a higher rate of growth in the smaller homes than the larger homes. And again, I happen to have both right across the street from each other. We saw about a 35, or I think it was around a 30% growth on the large home, but a 67% growth on the small home. And so that share, they're getting a larger share of the taxes. The large home stays about flat. Now, again, don't get me wrong, we're still paying 3x taxes on the large home than we are on the small home. But 2 years ago, it was 4x. And 10 years ago, it was 5x. So we're still paying more taxes, but the amount of taxes being paid on the smaller home has been growing, and that's problematic. We'll be talking later about some things we're trying to do to help with that, at least for seniors. The problem with this is that it's state law. So we're limited in what we can do. You know, one of the things that I won't go into it here because we could be here all night. I'm not a fan of the real property tax laws. They're problematic, but it's what we've got now. So I've been beating the drum in Albany. Can you go to the next slide? I think I'd cover it. Yeah, so some of the state systems are not keeping up. So if you're not going to change the system, we need to fix some of the things that we've got in place. They've not been adjusting the exemption amounts at the same rate the property values are rising, okay? And in fact, for the basic star exemption, they've never raised it. And I think it came in during the 90s. It still covers a maximum $30,000 of home value. It's never been adjusted. The enhanced star has been adjusted. You know, so these, as basically it's been, as it's gone up, it hasn't been going up at the rate at which home values have gone up. It's going up more by the standard index of inflation, which again, the home values are far outstripping inflation rates. As a result, what happens is so they cover about, you know, the first, I can't quite read that, 108,000, is it? 103,000. So when that home used to be $200,000, that meant Star covered about half of the home value. Well, now that same home is worth $300,000, it means I'm down to a third value. So that's why you hear these, you know, people with smaller homes, seniors coming in saying, my taxes doubled. Their house value didn't double, but it's the delta between the top value that I can get from the enhanced star and what the value of my home is. If that enhanced star was growing at the same rate as the home values are, then they wouldn't have paid any more additional in taxes, or minimal additional in taxes. Unfortunately, that's not what's happening. So I've been lobbying our state representatives about this, and will continue to do so. I'm trying to get New York Association of Towns to take it up as one of their legislative agendas, because again, I think I would hate to see that the system drives seniors out of their homes. Next. So with understanding all that, we've worked real hard to keep the cost down by what we can do. So what that means, we're holding the tax levy flat. So basically, we're introducing no new town property taxes. We're also holding the sewer.
Flat.
What's that?
The bill out.
That's fine. If we don't have, well, we now have Kevin, so we've got at least one person from the public here. Granted, a number of the town folks are residents as well, but
Right.
we're holding the sewer charges flat. So basically, we're not introducing any new expense to any existing homeowner. Now, I will note that the levy or the total amount collected for those goes up because there's new homes attached to sewer. So if we hold the rate flat and we add 100 new homes, then, you know, to the 14,000 or whatever we have, that's going to increase the amount we collect. But each existing homeowners will pay no additional charge. And then same thing with the other special districts. We're holding all those rates flat. So we introduce no new expenses there. With the rising costs, I'll say this wasn't easy. But again, our team has worked very hard to find ways to provide all the services we have been providing and adding some additional ones while still keeping taxes down, costs down. Next. So again, our 2026 projected tax levy is $4,727,891, the exact same we put forth last year. So levy was held flat, no new tax. Next slide. As I mentioned, we have a lot of increasing costs. Labor costs continue to rise, and especially in terms of health insurance and retirement. So health insurance went up 14%, retirement 12%, just liability insurance, the automobile, the other insurances, 10% increase. Supply and contractor service costs continue to increase. And as we mentioned, construction costs have gone up considerably. Next. So the tax rate will go down by about 24%. It's really the old rate divided by 1.31, where that number comes from. That's if there's a 31% growth in total assessed value, my rate, I divide by that amount. And so our anticipated town tax rate, like I said, is about
75.5 cents.
Yeah, 70, close to 76 cents per thousand of assessed value. The final rate will be dependent upon adjustments to the Monroe County tax roll. It's a complicated process, but there's always some minor adjustments. So like those years where we had the same levy 4 years in a row, it goes up or down slightly because of adjustments due to certiorari settlements and other stuff like that. So next. So as we mentioned, we've held all the rates flat. So the drainage district is flat, new properties coming on. So basically, obviously there's no new land being created, but if a land was previously empty and now has impervious surfaces, basically they have more what are called drainage units. So the unit count goes up. So there's an additional the drainage levy goes up by 20,779, accounting for those additional units. Same thing with the sewer district. We held it flat. There's a number of new homes connecting to the sewer. So that's an additional just under $3,000 of additional residential sewer charges. I'll note that residential sewer charges are a flat rate per year on your tax bill. Commercial are based off of actual usage. They pay more tend to pay more than the sewer charges. What is it? Is it What's the current sewer charge, you remember, Linda? So $35 to remove all of your waste products for a year is pretty darn good. As someone who's on septic, I sure wish I could, because when you divide, even if you only have to pump your septic tank every 4 years, I guarantee you it's a lot more than $35 a year. Park district, same thing, the rate and tax levy remain the same. Next. Yeah, yeah. So we've added some new individuals. We added another full-time maintenance mechanic. So one of the ways we've been keeping construction costs down is we've been taking more stuff in-house. So we've been keeping our maintenance mechanics folks very busy. We've added we'll be adding another full-time assistant building inspector. We'll be adding a full-time recreation assistant in the gymnastics program. That program has expanded tremendously, and we certainly don't want to see burnout on the part of the director. And then we're going to add one part-time engineering inspector. Next. These are the elected official salaries. They all went up. The town supervisor and the council members went up by 3%. We hadn't done an increase in the council member in a few years. The town justice is going up by 5%. We started a program a few years ago. They were far below the median for our size towns, and I give the list. We're only looking at towns like Brighton, Shiloh, Veronica, Webster, the larger towns when comparing. So we started a program where rather than jump them way up, we've been doing 5% a year to try to get them closer to the median, especially since we're the second or third most busy town as far as town justices go. Next. In terms of budget outlays, we do have some scheduled equipment replacements. We've got the construction that some of the projects we've talked to, some of that's already been allocated, but in addition, we have some new restroom and playground at Tinker Park. That's, again, when we approved the increase for the spray park, it was $200,000 that would get used for different stuff each year, and the recommendations for that come from the Park and Rec Advisory Board. We went after a recreational trail program to create the Riverwalk, so there's our portion of that. Same thing, we went after an environmental protection fund grant to to make our Veterans Memorial Playground fully accessible, including replacing all the wood chips with the rubberized surface. So that's our portion. And then we have to do transfers to the general fund, from the general fund to the highway and library funds. Both of those, the library fund especially has been going up in recent years. As their costs go up, the state support for the libraries is minimal and not increasing. So that more and more of that burden falls on our general budget. Next. So this is the preliminary budget by use. And so you can see the different categories, probably better than I can, because again, at this distance, it's a little soft focus for me. Contractual services is, thanks, Rob. Contractual services is a large portion. And personnel, government accounting, for some reason, it's called personal services instead of personnel services. I'm from the business world, so I still call it personnel. I have no idea. It actually confused somebody because they said, why is the why is the supervisor have all this fund for his personnel use? It wasn't my personal use. It was my department's personnel. So it's my salary, the deputy town supervisor, the finance director, and the administrative assistant. It's a weird thing in government accounting. Next. So this is the operations financed by tax levy. You can see most of the levy goes towards, about a third of it goes to the highway, a third of it goes to the library, and then the rest go to the various districts, including 13% is the special ambulance district. That's again the separate. So it's considered a special district levy. It's broken out separate from the town levy, but we are the stewards of that. So and it gets included in our added to our levy, and especially when looking at things like tax cap and stuff like that. Next. So this is just the breakdown by funds. So half of it, all the operations, all the costs are in the general, about 20% are in highway, about 10% are library, 6% sewer, 3% ambulance. Next. This is the breakdown of your tax dollar. So, you know, we fought really hard to keep your taxes flat, and that's great. The problem is we're only 3.6% of the taxes you pay. So someone came to me one day and said, you know, I pay $10,000 to the town in taxes. I said, no, you don't. He said, what? I said, you pay 300. At that point, it was $380.
Yeah.
And I pulled up his tax bill and showed him 60% now goes to the school district. The county's an estimate because we don't have their numbers in. So I used 3% because that's what most of the other folks grew at. So county's about 23%, fire district's just under 13%, ambulance is 0.6%. Next. So one of the things that we do with fund balance, we budget very conservatively. And so for revenues, so what that means is if the revenues come in strong, we have excess fund balance. What that allows us to do is weather a storm. That was very important during COVID. It allowed us to get through COVID unscathed. Some towns were in financial distress because of that. We were not. And then what we can do is with those funds, we can then use those we typically do capital with those. So that's where you see the money we allocated to the various construction projects. We also created some capital reserve funds in a repair reserve fund, but the largest chunk of that we used was 4.75 million was applied to the 2026 budget in order to minimize the tax increase. So it's using that fund balance allows us to keep the tax increases down, and again in this case it was flat. We also allocated, if you recall, $100,000 to allow us to repair New York State DOT potholes. So a lot of people were complaining about the frequency, the depth, and how long they lasted for the potholes on the state road.
Yeah.
We did not have either the authority nor the ability to do those repairs. Residents didn't want to hear that. They wanted to hear, hey, town, get these potholes fixed. So in this off year, we then approached the New York State DOT and said, what can we do in order to repair those? And they do only hot patch. We didn't have hot patch capability to get the equipment to do that. Plus, we had to have a crash attenuator and a signal board. Was about $100,000. So we allocated those funds. Those are in place. That was largely funds coming from we had a surplus of cannabis tax funds. So people have pointed out we're using the pot tax to fill potholes. Our DPW guys wanted to put a cannabis leaf on the side of the vehicle. I said, I don't know if that's the best idea in the world, but It was cute. But the good news is this year, when we get reports of potholes on the state roads, we will check with them to make sure they're not out that day to fix them. If they're not, we'll go out and fix them.
That's great.
I'm not the craziest about spending town tax dollars to fix state roads, but it's our residents' cars that are getting damaged. So if we can keep our residents' cars from being damaged, I think it's, again, money well spent. I would prefer the state just kept their own roads up, but that clearly has not been happening. Next.
Let's send them a bill.
Yeah. I do intend to try through the local, they won't pay it, but I do intend to see if we can get it additional funds, whether it's from what's that? Either snow, yeah, so snow and ice, extreme weather. What's the other big one that pays? Yeah, the pave our potholes, that's it. There's a pave our potholes fund, so I'll see if we can get reimbursement through that. But I'll just note that it's not guaranteed. But if we can get it, great. But again, I think it's important. So this is our fund balances, and the change. I'll note so one of the things to note, you can transfer funds from the general fund to the highway or to the library. You cannot go back the other way. So we tend not to transfer funds into those until they're needed. As a result, they're kept a little low, but we look at the general highway. Oh, that should have been an H. The general highway and library combined. That's what we look at when we're determining our target numbers. Our fund balance policy is, I think, 19 to 25% is what our target is for those funds. So we look at that in total. As you can see, we applied, you can see the 4.75 applied to fund balance, but there was some net growth. So it stayed largely the same from 13.7 to 13.8. Sanitary, sewer, and drainage, we actually maintain much higher fund balance levels, especially the sanitary. And that's because if there's ever a catastrophic failure, we need to be able to respond immediately and get that fixed. We can't worry about going out to bonds or calling in insurance. Essentially, you can think of that as being self-insured for some of that stuff. So if something goes wrong, we go after that. And then one of the things we do as those, we have a certain amount that goes into contingency for years that we don't need to pull down the entire contingency for repairs. It gets essentially added to this, plus any cost savings they're able to achieve get added to that balance. What we then tend to do is when the balance gets above that, what we need for contingency, that's where we then look and say, is there a drainage project that we can do? For instance, an improvement, replace a culvert, kind of get out ahead of stuff. That's how we've been funding some of the, we did a bunch of repairs in some of the neighborhoods where the sewers were getting old. They needed to be slip lined. But like I said, those fund balances do sit higher than all the others just because of the nature of those two. Greenbelt, street lighting, park and rec, those, well, I'll do the trust separately. Those ones are the more traditional balance levels. I will note in the sanitary sewer, there is money being collected for a significant major repair. It's money that only comes from new development in that corridor along West Henrietta Road. So there's a portion of that essentially can only be spent there, but it's in this amount. We do keep track of that. So that is another reason why sanitary is even a bit higher. The Park and Rec Trust, that money comes in from whenever is it the new new building permit. Yeah, so whenever a new home building permit comes out, there's a fee that goes into this trust fund, and then we can spend that on various projects. So, but they have to be park and rec related.
Okay.
So that's one of the things that what we've used that for is, you know, we allocated a certain amount for a particular park and rec improvement. And if costs come in over, that does give us some room to cover that. Next. Because of this fiscal our budget policy and our fiscal policies, we are considered very fiscally strong. We have an AA2 credit rating. There's only 2 ratings higher than that. It's essentially prime one investment. Not that you can buy stock in Henrietta, but if you could, it'd be a good investment. Other than they don't pay dividends. Minor detail. The only real major debt are the 2 bonds taken out to build the library as passed by the ballot referendum in 2017. Those were a 30-year bond, so they'll be with us till 2048, I think is when they fall off. So next. So this is just again a summary of the changes. The proposed town tax, no change, smaller rate. Drainage charges, the levy goes up a little bit, but it's only for new properties or modified properties. Same thing with the sanitary, only for new connections to the sanitary for residential. So again, 0%. Parks, no levy change, no rate change. So everything in the town we're holding flat. Next. As people are probably already aware, the school district went up by 4.2%. That's normal, higher than their normal 2%. A large driver of that was this coming year is this school year now is the last year that they can buy not basically fossil fuel buses. Something like 60% of our routes are longer than the range of an electric vehicle, the electric bus. And so it would greatly increase the cost. Not only are those buses more expensive, but we'd have to have more of them and therefore also more drivers. So they increased the budget so they could buy a number of gas-powered buses now, diesel-powered, I guess. We don't have any information from the county. Again, when I was doing the estimates for the breakdown, I assumed about a 3% increase. The fire district is a 3% increase. I was very encouraged by that. I've been fairly outspoken in the fact that they've had numerous years of double-digit raises. So I was happy to see that they held their increase to 3%. And then the CHS mobile increased 3%. We have a long-standing formula that was first put in 2018 based off of the real growth and the change in property values. And so 3% is where that formula works out to. So that increases it by about $28,000. Next. I guess that's it. Any questions?
Kevin Yost, 1474 Middle Road. You say that that there is that the next budget does upgrade the restrooms in Tinker, and that's I suppose use them all year round because I know in the ULS administration had to lock them off in the winter time because it was too astronomical a cost to keep them heated in winter time.
Yeah, so we're also looking to go to either septic or sewer as opposed to the latrines. These are the ones on the Pittsford Henrietta Town Line roadside.
Yeah, I noticed in the newsletter, reading it the other day, you mentioned, you mentioned, no, this was in the newsletter, is new restrooms in Breeze Park and then possible trail over the canal from the JCC over to, into Karen Lee
Yeah.
and then, you know, and then possibly purchasing the old, Dome and Manette Hall, but are those by grants and not by the town budget?
So the JCC right now is just a plan that's some time out. That's just right now we're putting together a plan to go after a subsequent grant in that regards. As far as the Dome Arena goes, if that one comes through, we'll be having to do budget adjustments based off because that's a lot of revenue. It's like 11 million in revenue. And similar or larger amount in costs. Although a lot of our contributions in that are in kind or external funds. We have some developers who would be contributing towards that project as well. We didn't want to put that in there because it's the IFCOM. The other ones are more likely and or smaller effect, but to put that all in there now would have totally skewed this budget. And again, we don't know that it's coming in. So the Dome Arena one's a little bit, like I said, that one is a potential that we'll have to do a budget adjustment. But the Breeze Park bathrooms are done. Chapman Corner bathroom is waiting for RG&E to come in with electric. As I said, the JCC, that's further out. And I don't even know that that's going to happen. We're starting what's an environmental impact study to look at the effects of traffic, wetlands, character, the neighborhood impact on cycling, pedestrians, whole 9 yards. So that's what that work is largely.
Thank you.
Yep. Any other questions? So Linda, is there a resolution later on that moves this, calls for the?
Yes, there's a resolution to call for the presentation for the preliminary budget.
All right,
on the 6th.
all right, thank you. So that concludes our public hearings. We will now return to resolutions.
Mr. Supervisor and fellow board members, I have resolution 18-340, 2025 to approve and or ratify the following agreements.
Seconded.
Any questions? Hearing and seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca,
Aye.
Councilmember Barley,
Aye.
Councilmember Stafford,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Mr. Supervisor and fellow board members, I have resolution number 18-341, 2025 to authorize bills payable and any associated contracts or agreements for today, October 15th, 2025.
Second.
So the largest ticket item here was the paving projects being done. There's nothing, this is more a whole lot of smaller stuff versus like a couple times in the past, we've had a couple really big ticket items. I, of course, printed out the list and left it on the printer as I tend to do. Any questions, comments? Hearing and seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca,
Aye.
Councilmember Barley,
Aye.
Councilmember Stafford,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Mr. Supervisor and fellow board members, I have resolution number 18-342, 2025, to call for a public hearing and declare intent to be lead agency on the proposed establishment of the West Henrietta Hamlet Historic District.
Second.
I'm not sure the Hamlet's supposed to be in that title. I mean, it's fine in the resolution title, but I don't think it's actually in the title of the district itself. Becky, would you be able to pull up the map? So this is the map. The left is north. I had to figure out which way. So that's from the upper left corner to the lower right corner, that's West Henrietta Road. And then the running from top to bottom in the middle, that's Erie Station Road. The color codes, basically, the green properties are contributing historic properties. So those are properties that are already declared historic. The yellow indicates properties that are contributing, they're eligible to be declared historic, although they have not been. So in this particular district is, again, celebrating the early hamlet portion of Henrietta. So it's from buildings constructed from 1810 to 1925. So again, those yellow properties are those that could be declared historic. As far as SHPO, which is a state historic preservation office, is concerned, they are contributing. They do add to the historic nature of this district. And when they were out here in 2019 reviewing for when at the time it was the Dollar General application to go into a historic property, they recognized many of those properties. They didn't look at the whole district. They were focused closer to the intersection. But you know, a number of those already have SHPO designations as part of the district. Orange, basically, those are properties that are currently undeveloped. I call it unstructured because they might have, like, one of them has ball fields, but there's no real structure to be historic or not historic. And then red basically means there's an existing structure there that is not eligible to be historic. Now, I will note that given enough years, any of those properties could eventually be declared historic. They just wouldn't be in the same historic category as the district. The other thing I'll note, in addition to buildings, existing structures today that are historic and still present, we also look at sites that contain formerly historic buildings or sites that contain buildings that housed historic individuals. So one of the ones on there, Chapman's Corner Park, which was the site of one of the earliest hotels in the town. That one does have a historic designation, even though the structure is no longer there. We've been working on that park. So as I mentioned, the restroom is in it's just not operational yet because we don't have electricity, but like we've run the plumbing over to where the fountain will be. We've run the electric there. We've run the electric to the former Three Sisters ice cream. We're just waiting for RG&E to hook us up. And then later this year or early next year, we'll be installing the playground equipment that has arrived. We'll be installing all the benches that were donated for the project. And then once that's all in, we'll actually do the paths. We had talked about putting the paths in. I said, makes more sense to get all the components in, because what if we find we have to move a component because of something underground? I would hate to build a path and then have to move the path. It makes more sense to me to get the major components in and then put the path in. So hopefully next year we'll be done with the park. But you know, a shout out to Ann Stevens and Bill Shattuck, who helped make that possible, including all the work that they did on the former Three Sisters ice cream stand to turn it into what will be a showcase for the history of this district. So,
Steve, I have a question.
Yep.
Is the difference between yellow and green the date that it was constructed, or the owner hasn't requested it to become a designated historical
it's the
site?
latter.
That's what I
Yep.
thought. Okay.
Yeah, so they were built in the right time frame. They still have enough of the original structure to be considered historic. They just haven't applied. There's a burden with being a historic property. If I were doing the tax code, I'd allow towns to offer a discount on like a reduction of their property value for being historic. Unfortunately, I'm not in charge of that. Because again, there is a cost to doing that. And so a lot of individuals who own those homes, they still maintain them, but they don't register them for just that reason, because they come under additional regulations in that regards. There will be some additional regulations from the creation of this district. One of the things that in the letter that we're sending out with this, we suggest that we let them know that we're going after this grant, and that any of those eligible properties, if they desire, they could start the process. And if they want to wait till we get the grant, that's fine too. But the point is, to be eligible to receive funding from that grant, they would have to either be declared historic, or they'd already be designated historic, or they would have to declare their intent prior to essentially that they set a timeline. It's early on in the process.
Thank you.
So, any other questions?
Kevin Yost, 1474 Middle Road. And unfortunately missed the public hearing on this a little while ago, but I didn't make it as I'd hoped. So I take it they're still going to recognize that some people, some owners of some properties choose not to have it designated.
Yeah, you haven't missed the public hearing. This is just calling for the public hearing. So the
Okay.
public hearing will be at the next meeting.
They're just going by what was in here.
Oh, that's the public hearing for the creation of the law, not
Okay.
the district.
Okay, I hopefully I'll be planning on doing other areas of town such as the East Hamlet, Pinnacle, and a little bit of east end of Jefferson, maybe portions of Middle and Martin.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Again, we're going to start here. Whether we'll do any other districts, that will be determined in the future based off of recommendations from the Historic Site Committee.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments?
I have a question for our chair, Gary Goodrich. For those residents that own property in the area, is it very expensive to be registered as a historic site?
From the standpoint of the town, there's no cost.
What about the resident that applies?
No, I think
There's
he means,
no cost to the resident to apply to become designated. The only
Okay.
thing that happens is there's a few additional restrictions.
right.
Like-
So let me just, what he meant from the town, there's 3 places you can be registered. You can be registered locally with the town. You can be registered with the state, and you can be registered federally with the
Correct.
on the national register.
So what if you did all 3? What if you did the federal?
There's no cost to do the applications for that.
Okay.
The requirements are different depending on which level you wanted to get at.
Gotcha.
Obviously, the local levels are by our current town code, and it will be by the district code once the district code passes, which is just a few additional restrictions compared to what our normal code is.
Right. It's
State and federal go a little farther than we do. In some cases, they actually go to the internal of the house,
Gotcha.
where we don't do that.
Yeah, had a couple of residents ask me about that. And I said, well, I have to talk to Gary and maybe I can refer them to email you.
yeah.
Oh, yes. Yeah,
Okay.
HSC at Henrietta.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
so again, there's no cost to register. Where the additional cost comes in is when you're doing the maintenance, right?
Okay. Yeah.
because I'm using more historic materials, which, you know, can be more expensive than some of the modern materials.
Right, you have to maintain the historic character and that even if you can get the materials, the actual cost to create it,
Right,
because some of it was much more ornate,
right.
you know? So,
Some of the additional restrictions we already kind of put into play when, so if you remember when the former Delphi came in for the apartments, well, also as far as when they came in for the industrial use, we were able to use the nearby industrial or historic properties to push back on that heavier industrial
Yep.
use, right? When they then switched the apartments, the look and, you know, and finishes of the buildings were to be more consistent with the architecture. And it's not just, there's no mono architecture, you know. In fact, SHPO mentioned 4 or 5
right,
major themes, you know, like Federalist, Greek Revival, Italianates.
Victorian,
Yeah, so
Right.
there's a number of so basically what we said when they did that, they had to build them in that style.
Right.
Yeah.
And with materials that were consistent, they could be modern materials, but they had to
Consistent.
be consistent with the appearance of the surrounding area. Without the district, or in that case, it was a rezone, right? You're hard pressed to enforce that. This will give us that ability. So if anything else goes in the area, it will have to be consistent with the surrounding area. So the idea is you don't want these new modern buildings detracting from all these historic properties.
Well, thanks. Appreciate that.
any other? Okay,
Any other questions? And hearing and seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca,
Aye.
Councilmember Barley,
Aye.
Councilmember Stafford,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Fellow board members and Supervisor Schultz, I have resolution 18-343, 2025 to assign East River Road seeker mitigation fees for the Howlett Acres subdivision.
Second. So Howlett Acres actually was begun before the seeker mitigation was put in. They had a burden from Monroe County to make certain improvements to the East River Road around the intersection of Erie Station Road. Then COVID hit, then construction costs went through the roof. For them to do all those necessary improvements would be more money than they made on the whole subdivision and would essentially bankrupt the company. So they would declare bankruptcy before doing this. So we needed to figure something out. The good news is when we did the multimodal path, if you remember, we had $1.25 million in grant funding, thanks to Senator Gallivan and Assemblymember Bronson. When we built that path, we did it in cooperation with Monroe County DOT. There were significant savings. We've still got about 30 to 40% of the funding left.
That's great.
So that should be able to do a lot of the intersection areas there. But we're also, so basically what the plan is, we basically said, well, what if Howlett came in after the seeker mitigation was in place? And so based on the number of vehicles they're putting on the roads, that would be $164,000 for seeker mitigation for the residential portion. There's a future commercial portion that isn't included in here yet. And plus we're requiring them to do an additional 30,000 because they have a plan is that, right, the left turn lane into their property. That doesn't make any improvements to the corridor itself. It's a local improvement for them. So they're covering that cost.
Great.
So this will, we've already talked to them. They'll be able to afford this. Obviously it's a pain in cost, but it's a little bit higher than what they they were originally expecting, I think it was around 175, 170, somewhere thereabouts. So it's a little bit more, but between that cost and the money from the grants, we should be able to do all the improvements. It'll be our crews doing the work. And what that will do then is it's going to extend the bike-friendly shoulders that you see if you've been on the newly completed work that the county did. Very bike-friendly shoulders, but they stop at the thruway. This will carry them south to East River Road. And if you've ever been on not East River, sorry, Erie Station, thank you. If you go on Erie Station towards the golf course, it also has very bike-friendly shoulders. So what that means is anybody along that corridor will be able to get to Riverton Parks, Breeze Park, very safely from a bike standpoint. Similarly, anyone living in that area will be able to get all the way up to Jefferson Road, and especially if it's students who want to ride their bikes to campus, they'll have a nice, safe path with which to do so. So we're actually going to be doing a ribbon cutting on the multimodal path. Unfortunately, I don't remember the date, but the county is coordinating it. But I invited all the folks who obtained the grants for us to attend, and then as well as the county, since again, we're able to get so much done because of that partnership with the county.
Right.
I did just get word back from the New York State Department of Transportation, since it's their intersection. They like the improvements. They agree with them. They just want us to do a level of service check with the new configuration and the new numbers. And if it meets the requirements, which they think it will, then we'll be good to go. So I will also note that originally we did not believe that the northbound right turn lane needed to be put in until the commercial portion was developed. New York State DOT felt differently. Since they're the higher entity, they get to control the intersection. So what we're going to do is we're going to track the cost to put that in. And again, Howlett's already agreed to that. That is going to be the minimum seeker mitigation fees for that commercial property. Now, if it's something like a Burn Dairy, based on the amount of traffic that generates, it would exceed that amount. But if it was something like self-storage, which generates no traffic and therefore no fees, this would be a minimum fee on that. So whoever comes in to develop it will have to pay those fees when it comes in.
Gotcha.
But very much appreciative of all the folks in the town, deputy town supervisor, the superintendent of highways, both named Craig. Chris Martin and Luke from engineering, as well as the team from Monroe County DOT. We've been working hand in hand with this. It's a great example of intergovernment participation. We're going to get a really good product for a lot less than it would cost if we each worked on it individually. So just huge shout out. Yeah, exactly. Any other questions?
No, but thanks for the explanation.
Yep. And hearing and seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca,
Aye.
Councilmember Barley,
Aye.
Councilmember Stafford,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye. Fellow board members, I have resolution 18-344, 2025 to designated action towing and service as an authorized vehicle impound lot for towed vehicles.
Second.
So the Monroe County Sheriff has been helping us with ticketing vehicles. There's been a significant increase in some illegally parked cars, either in fire lanes or designated handicap spaces. It's gotten to the point where they believe we need to start towing because they're seeing some repeat offenders. They use Action Towing and Service. It's a Henrietta business. They're located right off of Marketplace Drive. By town code section 273-8, we have to designate them as one of our allowed impound lots. So that's what we're doing here. Any questions?
Just, so they're allowed to, I thought they would just be allowed to ticket cars. They're allowed to tow them at any time without that being put on a sign or anything? I mean, usually, cars will be ticketed, but
Again, so what typically happens is if it's a repeat offender, they can be towed.
Okay.
And there are some places where it does say on the notice there, it says, like parking, fire lane,
fire lanes,
prosecutors will, illegally parked cars will be towed.
I've seen that on fire lanes. I did
Yeah.
heard about the handicap too, so.
The handicap, they typically, again, it's generally not for a first offense.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Any other questions, comments? Hearing and seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Blanca,
Aye.
Councilmember Barley,
Aye.
Councilmember Stafford,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Mr. Supervisor and fellow board members, I have resolution 18-345, 2025. To authorize the town supervisor to sign the transfer agreement and closing documents to transfer land to Monroe County for the creation of a new county park.
Seconded.
So this is a project started a while back, a lot of legal hurdles to get through. But it's getting close to being done. So thanks to our town attorney, Dan Mistrella, for all his work on this. And we've also been working on getting the developer, getting all the stuff wrapped up as far as, the easements through there, the cleaning up, getting any of their construction stuff off of the county land. We've also been talked with some of the residents. He has a bunch of additional fill material. We're actually going to create a berm behind the houses.
Great.
So that it isolates them a bit from the public park area. So
There you go.
we've talked to those residents. They are very much in favor of it. They like the idea. County Parks likes the idea. So I just saw that Pat Merritt, the director of parks, approved the plans for the berm. So
Great.
any other questions, comments?
Do we know when that's gonna all take place? Or
The
about?
transfer,
I didn't see it.
Transfer itself, after you pass this resolution, has to wait 30 days for the possibility of a referendum on a petition being filed. Assuming it isn't, then the transfer goes ahead to the county. So the supervisors, they just saying deeds and the like, we'll give it to the county.
Thank you.
as far as them starting work, I think their plan was then next spring they would start that master planning process. And again, as part of that transfer and agreement we had in place, the IMA we have in place, that would include some representative from some representation from the town of Henrietta as part of involved in that planning.
Great.
Thank you.
Well, I did see in the county's budget, they did allow some funds for this part. And I'd just like to say, it's really good to see that we'll have our first county park in Henrietta. So great job, and thanks for all that you did too, Steve, to make this happen. Thanks, Dan.
Any other questions, comments? Hearing and seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Blanca,
Aye.
Councilmember Barley,
Aye.
Councilmember Stafford,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Mr. Supervisor and fellow board members, I have resolution number 18-346, 2025. To call for 2 public hearings to update the assessor's formula to calculate income for real property tax exemptions for seniors and disabled persons with limited income.
Second.
So as I mentioned during the budget presentation, there are some options within the real property tax law as to what income is included. We've taken a look at the various options, and it's this balance that you have to do between helping those with low income, but obviously, as we mentioned before, anytime you're not creating or more or less taxes, you're just divvying it up. So the thing is, if you do too much from an exemption standpoint, that puts a burden on all the other property tax holders. So we chose the option that we believe did the best in terms of helping those with limited incomes while not putting a burden on the rest of the property owners. The place where it affects the most is the school tax. But I think it was for the school tax, it was $32, maybe 38. Put average increase for across the other properties, but would help individuals with limited income tremendously. So, especially because as we've talked about, things like the enhanced star doesn't cover as much. So the limited income exemption would definitely help. Any other questions? Again, this is just calling for the public hearing. We'll have more discussion on this at the hearing. In hearing and seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca,
Aye.
Councilmember Barley,
Aye.
Councilmember Stafford.
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Mr. Supervisor and fellow board members, I have resolution number 18-347, 2025, to award the Henrietta Veterans Memorial Park Band Shell Project bid to Whitney East Incorporated.
Second.
So, as you recall, we're building a new band shell. The old canvas one was on its last legs, maybe even past its last legs. So we're going to a permanent steel structure. This is to do all the steel. And then once that's done and the major component is up, our town crews will come in afterwards, add the stage, the utility and storage room, and 2 restrooms. That way we'll actually have some permanent restrooms there when we have the concerts, or if we're still doing the marketplace, we won't have to have the porta potties. So very excited that this came in under budget, and look forward to this getting started. Any other questions, comments?
Yes, Kevin, 1474 Middle Road. Supervisor Schultz did indicate in the email to me that the band shell, canvas band shell wasn't lasting very long, even though it hasn't been there very much. My guess is it was probably made out of the country, probably China.
I don't know.
Mexico.
Well, the problem is anytime you have material like that, it takes a beating in the sun, the weather. We take it down in the winter, so it's not at least getting that. But then you also have problems of vandals who, the one year someone came and sliced it with a knife. And so it's the structure was in pretty good. Apparently, it was multiple years. I think I'm getting a sign from my deputy town supervisor, but now I think he's telling me to bunt. It's definitely seen better days, and we had looked at possibly just getting a new canvas, and for the cost of it, it made more sense to go to a permanent structure, especially because then we can add the restrooms, as well as if you look at where the power board is today, that's essentially a temporary construction type panel. That will move inside that utility room. It will be much safer from an electrical standpoint. I will also note, as I think I said to you there, our plan is not to dispose of that. We did get a grant, actually 2 grants, to do improvements to create a compost site, and it's also our leaf and brush drop-off site. We will be moving that there so that when we get the go to set up the compost. It would enable us to cover the compost, which would keep it dry and allow it to compost better and faster by keeping it dry. So the old structure will still be in use.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you. Any other questions, comments? In hearing and seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Blanca.
Aye.
Councilmember Barley,
Aye.
Councilmember Stafford,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Fellow board members, I have resolution 18-348, 2025, to authorize the supervisors to execute a proposed turnaround easement at the end of Wendell Drive from Dennis Nab to the town of Henrietta.
Second. So at the end of Lindeland Drive, it almost looks like there was potentially going to be a third or another, I shouldn't say a third, another portion of the development. Although that property apparently did not get included, and the individuals who own it now have a horse farm there. And so the Wendell Drive there just ends. There's no cul-de-sac, there's no hammerhead, no turnaround. The individuals came in for a field access. And when we were talking to them, you know, one of the things they would have to pave the first, basically out to the end of the right of way.
Yeah, you say about 15 feet?
Yeah, about 15 feet. They would have had to pay. What we suggested to them instead is if they give us this easement that will allow our plows to turn around so that they don't have to back all the way out. That essentially we'd be the one paving that.
Right.
We'd count that as their apron. So it's a win-win.
Sure.
And gives them the ability to get back there with their tractors, or they're putting a paddock in the middle of their property. It makes more sense to me to have the tractors coming in off of a side street than it does off of a main road like
Definitely.
that station. I think it's best safer for everyone involved, so. Any other questions? Hearing and seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Blanca.
Aye.
Councilmember Barley,
Aye.
Councilmember Stafford,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye. Fellow board members, have resolution 18-349, 2025 to authorize the supervisor to sign a sidewalk easement agreement with Emily and Michael Waller at 1464 Calkins Road.
Second.
So we are finally putting in the sidewalk on the north side of Calkins that will take the sidewalk, extend the sidewalk from Pinnacle all the way to Tinker Park. As you recall, earlier this year, we did get an easement from the church. Originally, the sidewalk in this area was going to go through the right of way, but because of utility poles and some mature trees at either end, it comes into their property some. When our crews were out there talking to them, they said they'd be happy to sign a sidewalk easement so that we can build a better sidewalk. So again, it'll come in, it'll curve a little bit to the south to avoid some major trees. And then it'll continue forth and then curve back up to go through the wooded section. Our crews have been out there clearing that wooded section. There really weren't, these are scrub trees. They're as much tall bushes as they are short trees, small trees. So no major trees have been removed. Again, we've tried to pick a path that avoided all mature growth trees. And then we should see Campobello will be coming in and doing the work. We've got some of our town employees will be assisting in terms of with trucks to keep the costs down. This should all be in before the winter. So very excited about that. It's been a long time coming. Happy to see that it'll finally be going in. Any questions, comments?
I'm excited about that too. My wife and I will be able to walk up that sidewalk when it's done.
Yep.
All the way up to Tinker, which is great. Be a lot safer than trying to cross the road and walk on the shoulder.
Any other questions, comments? Hearing and seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Page.
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca.
Aye.
Councilmember Barley.
Aye.
Councilmember Stafford.
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Mr. Supervisor and fellow board members, I have resolution 18-350, 2025 to declare items surplus materials from the Henrietta Public Library.
Seconded.
Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Page.
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca.
Aye.
Councilmember Barley.
Aye.
Councilmember Stafford.
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Mr. Supervisor and fellow board members, I have resolution number 18-351, 2025 to call for a public hearing to authorize use of the Repair Reserve Fund to make needed repairs to 2 town trucks.
Second.
So these are our smaller trucks that we use to clear the cul-de-sacs, especially the smaller cul-de-sacs for you, Linda. They currently have an electric valve that opens and closes the salt. That doesn't always work, and so sometimes in fact, most times or all the times, the salt thing's open, and so we're dropping salt as we're going to the cul-de-sac and back. Our general service garage found a great solution to change that to hydraulic as a very affordable cost. And so big thanks to Kevin Fogarty Sr. who found that solution and brought it to us. This will prevent the waste of salt between here and the cul-de-sacs. So, you know, he and his team do a great job in terms of trying to find ways to get more life out of our vehicles, to improve our vehicles, and very appreciative of the work he's been doing towards that end. Any other questions? And hearing and seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Page.
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca.
Aye.
Councilmember Barley.
Aye.
Councilmember Stafford.
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Mr. Supervisor and fellow board members, I have resolution number 18-352, 2025 to call for a public hearing on the fiscal year 2026 preliminary budget.
Second.
So obviously we had a lot of discussion on the budget. This just moves it forward. Any other questions, comments? Hearing and seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Page.
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca.
Aye.
Councilmember Barley.
Aye.
Councilmember Stafford.
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye. What you got there?
Thanks, Steve.
Yeah.
Fellow board members, I have resolution 18-353, 2025 to authorize placement of delinquent property maintenance invoices on the 2026 combined town and county tax bills.
Second. So basically anyone who hasn't paid their property maintenance invoices gets levied to the tax rolls. Any other questions? Comments? Hearing and seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Page.
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca.
Aye.
Councilmember Barley.
Aye.
Councilmember Stafford.
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye. Fellow board members, I have resolution 18-354, 2025 to make appropriate budget transfers to the 2025 adopted budget.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Hearing and seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Page.
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca.
Aye.
Councilmember Barley.
Aye.
Councilmember Stafford.
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Yeah. Mr. Supervisor and fellow board members, I have resolution 18-355, 2025 to hire personnel.
Seconded.
Any discussion or comments? Hearing and seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca,
Aye.
Councilmember Barley,
Aye.
Councilmember Stafford,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Mr. Supervisor and fellow board members, I have resolution number 18-356, 2025 to authorize EC4B to update the MEP plans for the redesigned and smaller Henrietta Municipal Dog Shelter.
Second.
So as discussed, with the significantly higher costs, we've been working to basically shrunk the building by roughly 33%. I think it's actually 31%. And eliminate some of the more costly things. It's still a great solution. And we did check that we will still be eligible for the full grant amount. I will not pull the trigger on this until we are sure we can get there from the contractors. We had a good session with the MEP, the winning not MEP, but mechanical and plumbing contractor today. And we had a good discussion with the electrical contractor the other day. We're working also with the general contractor. I will say I've been a little bothered by some of the little amounts that's being moved, but if that ends up being the case, then we can reject that bid and see if we can get the second bid within the numbers we need. We have to save a significant amount of costs. But this reduces the area by like I said, about 31%. The walls are 25% fewer walls. It's one less kennel. There's no garage door. It could be a smaller heat recovery unit. A whole bunch of stuff. Some of the contractors have come up with some good ideas on ways we can help and reduce the cost. So I feel pretty confident on the electrical and the mechanical plumbing. And hopefully we can get the general contractor there as well. So
Great.
we'll see what happens.
Mhm.
But it doesn't make sense to have their designs aren't needed for the general contractor to get started, which is the thing that is the most dependent on weather. And so again, I'm not going to start this design unless we can get there, because if we can't get there with this design, we'll have to figure something else out. And then it makes no sense to spend the $12,000 to do the new MEP designs. So any other questions, comments?
Very good. That makes sense.
And hearing and seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca,
Aye.
Councilmember Barley,
Aye.
Councilmember Stafford.
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Mr. Supervisor and fellow board members, I have the last resolution, number 18-357/2025, to reissue a request for proposals for the operation of the restaurant within the New Riverton Oaks Municipal Golf Course Clubhouse.
Second.
So we're had some good discussions on some approaches in order to potentially get higher amounts. I did get the construction estimate from Krista today. You're looking at, it's about a $2.5 million building to do the full with the restaurant, which means we potentially have to finance about $1 million of that, which means that we would need, when you take into account the additional insurance that would be attached to us, we need about $18 per square foot. That is the average for a restaurant in Monroe County. So hopefully we can get there. Again, we've had some good strategies on how to expand this out as we discussed in the workshop. And that, in this one, unlike in the past, we got rid of the, all but the, significant restaurant operation experience modifier to the, best value modifier. So that we're not, we had tried to stay Henrietta centric. Unfortunately, we just couldn't get, a response where we're at. A lot of the folks who didn't respond talked about the economy as it is today, as to their hesitancy. I haven't been able to connect yet with the winning bids to see why their response was low. They came in at $9 a square foot rent, which is about, again, half of what we would need to be at for year one, and then got up to 12 by year three, but again, still well below the 18 that we're going to need. So I had originally had another resolution on here to call for that would also authorize the potential redesign to the smaller clubhouse that we talked about at workshop. But then I realized I don't have a quote from the architect as to what that's going to do, so I can't really authorize that. I'm going to work and get that quote. We're going to see and go out. One of the suggestions we had recently was I'm going to be reaching out to Matt Hurlbut from Greater Rochester Enterprise and Bob Duffy from Greater Rochester Chamber of Commerce to see, get some additional ideas on, who to target, how we can go out there, because there are some more regional, multi-location, they're not chains per se, like you think of as like Applebee's, right? But you're talking about folks like Jeremiah's and Flaherty's and folks like that have multiple locations and might be interested in something like this. So one of the things that we'll get is if we find that there's, and talking to, trying to drum up support for this, if we get little support, we might call a special hearing or a special meeting to authorize the start of the design for the smaller clubhouse. So otherwise, again, in the packet, I'm going to talk about that $18 minimum, because again, if we can't get at least that, it doesn't really, it doesn't become financially viable.
That's 86,000 a year. So that's with the seating there. I don't know if that's possible.
That doesn't sound right.
18 times 4,000, right?
Yeah,
I thought it was 86.4.
Yeah, you might be right. That's an annual 18. Wait, what did you say though?
I thought I said 86.4.
No, that's too high. It's
I did 4,000
72.
times 18.
Yeah, it's 72,000.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I came up
Yeah,
with.
72. But it's still it's up
At
there
4,000 square feet.
at 4,000
Right.
square feet. And so some of what we can take a look at is yes, can we shrink some, could we shrink that a little bit to get to something more reasonable, or something that's more affordable in that regards? But
6,000 a month.
yeah, 6,000 a month. So
Yeah, my question was gonna be about, we were looking for local, and I was gonna ask you, are we opening up to chains now?
we are. There's no limit to chains, but like I said, they think that you're most likely, in talking to some folks, they think that, like I said, what I'll call the regional chains are most likely participants. We were just trying to support local Henrietta restaurants, but again, in this market, with this cost of construction, with the interest rate absolutely plays a big part in that too, because that, when you then the debt service is what we have to cover, it's a lot more debt service with the interest rates where they are today. We would not be able to get a municipal bond for this because municipal bonds would have a requirement that no more than 25% of the building be used for non-governmental uses, or so since 2/3 of the use is restaurant, we can't get a bond, so it would have to be a more conventional one.
And when you got that figure, how many years were you figuring?
That was a 30-year.
30 years. Okay, thank you.
Somebody like Salvatore.
Yep, it could be someone like that, right? There's a number of different options, although they're not that far away, so I don't know how interested that they're in Scottsville.
That closed it.
No, they closed the one that was in Chi-Line, the saloon.
They closed the one on Scottsville Road, but they have the one, as far as I know, I was told they still have the one in town,
In the village of
in the-
Scottsville, that's what I'm referring to. Yeah, they had another one.
Yeah.
They consolidated that operation with the one that's, and they were also in the soccer or sports garden. They consolidated those two operations to the Jefferson Road location, but the saloon that's in the village is still operating, as far as I'm aware. Last I knew. But yeah, the one that was on, I think it was actually technically in China, but on Scottsville Road.
Speaking of which.
Right. Any other questions? And per your suggestion, we did push it out longer, so it would be November 17th. So it's not quite a full month, 4 days shy of a full month.
And we're still going to, this is just getting bids, even if we got something for 18 hours, let's say we don't have, it's still gonna be, it's not a done deal.
It's not a done deal. We have a decision as to, right, because I'll say the higher up it is, the more cushion, the safer it is. If we get something right at 18 and that's the only thing, boy, that, that's going to be a tough decision. If we get nothing, then it's an easy decision.
Right.
But we'll see. All right. Any other questions, comments on that? Then hearing and seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca.
Aye.
Councilmember Barley,
Aye.
Councilmember Stafford.
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye. That completes our resolutions. Do we have any committee or miscellaneous reports?
Yeah, I got a chance to meet with the library board last week after I shared our report on our activity in the last month. They were gracious enough to let me leave early. They were entering a training on civil service, which did not look like it was going to be the most interesting time to be a part of. I get a chance to meet with both Parks and Rec and Youth Board next week, but some upcoming events. Teen Night Halloween Party at the Rec Center is this Saturday, October 18th, 6:30 to 8:30. The Halloween celebration at Tinker is Saturday, October 25th from 6 to 8 p.m. And Make a Difference Day at the high school, Saturday, November 1st from 9 a.m. to 12:30 p.m.
I attended the grand opening of the community bank with Steve, and I have school board and CHS meetings next week. They've all gone to 3-week interims now.
The diversity committee for sorry, the diversity committee had an event at the town hall this weekend. I wasn't able to attend, but I know Steve and Michael was there, so maybe you guys can comment on how the event went. But I'm glad that they got together to kind of show unity for our community and everything that we're going through right now as a nation.
Good.
It was just a great event. A lot of different folks there. So yeah, it was very nice, I thought.
Yeah, one of the things we talked about is, Henrietta has a very diverse population, a lot of different cultures. And what's great is, you're starting to see that in restaurants and in stores and such. you know, we're one Henrietta, but made up of a lot of different individuals in a lot of different cultures. So it was great to see them all come together and be supportive, and especially in light of what's happening. You know, a lot of the individuals are new Americans. They've either migrated here or have asylum here from, you know, some of the areas around the world, especially some of the war zones and some of the war zones we were involved in. So it's great to see. You know, one of the things that we've also seen is, you know, one of the major organizations, they want to move their headquarters here because of how welcoming and diverse Henrietta is. So the word's getting out there outside of just the town. There's a lot of people. There were a number of people who spoke who said they moved to Henrietta because of how welcoming this town is. So it's not just us, obviously. It's all the residents here who do that as well. So, you know, thank you to everybody who makes their neighbors feel welcome.
Steve, did you send out an invitation? I wasn't even aware of that.
I did not. It was largely posted to social media. So we'll make sure in the future that I'll get a note to Steve Lovey, who's the chair of that committee, to make sure he sends something to the town board to get the word out. So sorry about that. Yeah.
Yeah, Rick, it was something that they put together pretty quick, and I'd like to thank Steve Levy, the chair, and also Millie Shafranek, who's on our planning board, who kind of spearheaded this to get this out, and Steve helped with some of the stuff, but it was put together pretty fast, so that's why we did that.
I didn't realize he hadn't sent anything to the town board, or else I would have. I apologize. I didn't catch that.
Yeah.
So I'm sure it won't be the last such event. I know. And there were a number of the folks there who have already started. Some of the new groups have joined with the rest of the interfaith group that is planning the Martin Luther King Day celebration. So it's great. We're seeing additional groups joining that. That was something that was started, well, I think all back under Udelson, I think is how far back it goes. And it's great to see people from all different faiths, all different backgrounds working together. So they do the MLK celebration as well as the multicultural celebration.
So under the fire district, Steve, I have, last month they swore in one new firefighter, and then next week on the 21st at 5:30, they're going to have a public hearing to discuss the budget, the 2026 budget.
Great.
And one thing I'd like to say, we've been working hard to fill empty buildings, and I did see the other day where the old Ruby Gordon on West Henrietta Road had been sold. And it was sold, the folks who own the Asian market on Brighton Henrietta Town Line Road bought it just to put their distribution center in there, and they're actually not, so they're taking that building plus they're keeping their store, so we don't have another empty store.
Right.
So that's great.
And as you may be aware, we do have someone coming into the former Gander Mountain. We have somebody who's moving into the former Burlington Coke factory. We've seen a number of, the old Padova / Rachel's was filled by Community Bank. Red Lobster just recently has an application in for a new restaurant located there. So we are seeing progress on filling some of these empty buildings. So it's encouraging to see. Anything else? I'll just note we just had our Chamber of Commerce meeting today, and there's going to be a push. We're kind of the chamber took a hit with COVID, because a lot of people did, and it's taken some while to recover. But they've got a number of new participants, and they're looking to start to put together some benefits for membership and just try to really grow. We're working with the Rush Henrietta Central School District for mentoring. And then I'm meeting with the new president of RIT to talk to him about a similar arrangement with RIT. So, some good progress going on there. Do we have any discussion items or comments from the public?
Yes, Kevin Yost, 1474 Meadow Road. In reading the Henrietta Happenings Town newsletter the other night, I did see and I kind of alluded to it earlier, the proposed purchase of the town by the town of the former Dome Center in Manette Hall. And it looks like the town's pickleball rec program and the youth gymnastics programs have outgrown our new rec center. And I know that this administration had added the ventilation system for the sole purpose of the gymnastics program being able to use powdered chalk. I just wonder, is it possible, is it cost effective to move the ventilation system, or is it going to need a new ventilation system because otherwise the current rec center would be too hot?
No, I'll note that the rec center, we didn't do it for chalk. We did it because my predecessor didn't have air conditioning in the rec center. So we upgraded a rec. Now, when we did that, we chose a system that would not be adversely affected by chalk. But that new system actually is, we also worked with EC4B to come up with a much more energy efficient design. It actually costs less, uses less energy to both heat and cool the building than the old system did just to heat it. And part of that is because it has sensors that monitor the amount of oxygen and carbon dioxide in the room. And if oxygen drops or carbon dioxide rises, it mixes more outside air. Once it reaches the balance levels, it can damper that down. The old system had a fixed damper. And so what that meant is all night long, it was mixing in massive amounts of outside air. And that's why when you go to the rec center in the morning after a very cold night, it was like 55, 60 degrees in there. That doesn't happen anymore because when there's nobody in the building, that damper closes and there's no need to mix outside air. So that system would stay. As part of that grant application, we would put a similar system in the Manette Hall because Manette Hall currently does not have air conditioning. So we would essentially put a very similar system into Manette Hall as what we have there. So there's no reason to pull the system out of the rec center.
Yes, I also thought I read where I put inline roller hockey in there too as well, inline roller hockey rink.
It's floor hockey. It could also be roller hockey, but it was primarily floor hockey. The boards are actually already there. But basically what we would do is put down sport flooring. And so the advantage of putting those boards up, in addition to being able to have floor hockey, or again, if we wanted to do roller hockey, although I'd want to talk to our insurance carriers before we authorize roller hockey. The advantage there too is then the pickleball nets courts would be inside that board. So now when I have a pass shot, I'm not having to dig under bleachers or, around the corner and into the basketball area. Essentially, it will contain any past shots in pickleball. And so that area will be dedicated. It'll probably be predominantly pickleball most of the time, unless there's floor hockey being played there.
Yeah. I worry about the insurance, lack of court reform, lawsuit reform, insurance reform. That same thing that killed softball at the bicentennial, and why only Tom Cruise can maintain the the fitness trail stations other than staining, unfortunately. And my last question involves, Chapman Corrs Park. Now is the former Three Sisters supposed to be the bathrooms? There's supposed to be a picnic shelter where there's gonna, a picnic shelter where there would be, photos of West Centerham as it appeared in times past.
That's what the former Three Sisters is supposed to be. The bathroom is a separate building.
Okay,
Yeah, if you go by there, you'll see the bathroom's in. It's just waiting for the electrical hookup. And so they did they did a gable on the bathroom similar, that matches the gable that's on the Three Sisters, which actually matches the gable that was on the porch for Chapman Hotel. That's where that gable design comes from.
all right, thank you.
You bet. Any others?
So just full name and address for the record?
Full, either way.
My name is Matt Stransky. I'm an interpreting student at RIT. I'm here observing the interpreters working today. And it's my second time here, but I forgot to introduce myself last time. So I just wanted to thank the board for the opportunity to use this space for that and for including this kind of accessibility.
Thank you.
for coming.
Thank you.
Anything else? Anyone online? Then hearing and seeing none, can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So
Hearing no objection.